Shockwave! What is your command, Megatron?
Subscribe for Magic the Gathering and other content for evil fun.
Fear not, Megatron. Cybertron shall remain as you leave it.
Claim full 6 games.
Good morning. It's morning. I appreciate it. What's up, Walter? Man. We got Walter and we got Cosmic Seeds in the chat. Hello. And the weird question subject today is, should you start Magic now? If you're a new person to the game or want to be in the game, is it worth it to jump in? How scary. So let's not think of investor side. Think about it as a new person. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad you're here. And it is another awesome day. It is an amazing day. You know, I've been thinking, woke up, been kind of struggle with sleeping, trying not to be tired. I don't know why I ate breakfast and I just felt more tired. But here I am supporting my Jurassic Park gear all the way around because Ixalan is exciting for me. And you would say no for a new player, right? Like that's kind of a weird angle. Like thinking about half the stuff that's going on in the world of Magic today, we got boxes that are worth $1,000, half a $1,000. Now, when I was a kid, $1,000 was the dream amount of money to have, but now it's a lot. Let's see what we got. Honestly, as a new person, I'd want Mana Crypt and Masters after finding out what it does, right? I have friends that have asked me about it, and I tell them I missed a golden time of Magic. Oh, there was definitely a golden time in Magic. Exactly, Walter. And everybody's golden time can be different. Because, like, my golden time started in the original Ravnica block, and that whole series going on forward for a while. Then you had a golden time for people who played Commander, and Commander Proc became the highlight of the world. And it was a beautiful thing when people were playing their ways. There was a golden time of Magic when tournaments were amazing. They were the epitome of what you wanted to be a part of when getting into Magic, you know? Investable collectibles, hello. It is a lot to have to keep up as a new player. It might be hard. Right? What's up, James Willis? The man, the myth, the legend, the buffest squirrel you ever seen on the streets. You look at James Willis and you're like, damn, that squirrel is ripped. But for this Timmy, I buy what I want, and honestly, that's not enough. Well, it's a weird thing, right? It's weird for sure. Like, you buy what you want. You buy the singles market, or you buy the product you want. You wait for certain things. You want certain things. So, like me, I personally wait for things I want to come out, or sometimes I'm surprised. Like this new turtle card coming up in Wildsville Drain. Tortoise is going to have to get a copy of that. It's strange. It's diluted. But as a new player, is that enough? There were a few golden times. In effect, was one Planeswalker initially foils, 1999 cards, and Innistrad, right? There's different golden times for different people, different flavors. Things that people loved and enjoyed the most in their experience of their whole life in Magic. My golden time was Magic was for everyone, not just those deep pockets, right? Right? Deep pockets. I believe that. I understand that. For someone who can't afford much on their end, yes. If I bought less gems and crystals, I could buy more Magic. But you know what? Buy what you want that makes you happy, that makes you feel good. If collecting for investing is what you want to do, that is perfectly fine. You know, Magic feels like it's less of a collectible now, more than it's now a Pokemon TCG, where it's a game where the pieces are not worth the value of the. But I'm not going to get too much into that detail because that's all what you want to find in the game. $20 dual lands, Walter. $20 dual lands. You got to think of the bright side. You're happy with your collection portfolio? That's pretty good. Your collection portfolio is what makes it awesome, what makes it amazing. You know what I'm saying? What makes you feel complete with Magic is what makes you feel complete. Simple as that, you know. It's nice. Want to see what I just got? Wow, you want to hop on stream? I can send you a link if that's what you want to say, or you're going to post Discord. It's all exciting stuff all in general. Like, so getting into Magic as a new player, I remember when I got in, it took a lot of people to talk me into playing Magic. Then once I had the opportunity to say yes, where I wanted to say yes, I did that. Like, it took a lot of people to talk me into playing Magic, to invest money into cardboard game pieces, and never did I know it was going to be addictive. But now it's weird because, like, I'm trying looking from a new person standpoint today, and what I find kind of overwhelming over the price of some of the products, over the cost of the products, is the variants kind of scare me. Like, if I'm a new player and I'm investing my money into product, and I'm a proxy friendly guy, I let people play proxies, but like, you know, in a game, like a real tournament style game or a real match, it bugs me when someone plays proxies over my cards that cost money, and it's like someone's jimmy rigging their way into a game of Magic where you got all the actual pieces, and variants make you wonder how or what a proxy would look like, because now a lot of the variants look like proxies. Self-promotion, Discord. Give me a second. Bink, 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 bink. All right, you lovely folks. Is it mine? Yeah. Ooh. Let's see if I do. Look at that. I don't know if I can get a better picture of that. Let me see if I can. No, it won't let me zoom in on it. That's pretty cool. What's the sign say? I can't read it very well. Ah. All right, let's see what people are saying. Walter says sometimes I feel like 75% of people just copy decks offline and don't even know how to use it. You know what? We live in a world of super perfect information, and that information is deck text, and people figure out the format faster than freaking whatever you can figure it out to be, right? The formats are solved so quick. Like, sometimes you don't even know if you're copying a deck. Like, when I got into Standard, and I was playing the deck a couple times on Arena with Hillbilly, which I had to uninstall Arena because it's taking up too much space in my laptop. But the deck I built, before I knew it, I found out afterwards building the deck. I started looking what other people built in that same realm of colors because of Sultai, Muldrotha, Reanimator, Destroy. And after I built the deck, I went around looking at it, and people already solved the format, and that was like the best deck at the time. And I thought I was ingenious, but the format was already solved before I even finished building this deck. Local auction, yeah. True too, Walter, especially when I got GPs, right? Nice. That's awesome, Cosmic. 100. 100. So, so that's another thing to think about. Like, for a new player to jump in, format's already solved. It almost feels like there's not enough time for you to grow into learning how to play the game. I mean, if net decking is what you have to do, then you're not really learning. You learn that deck, especially if you play it over and over, but no real growth for building a deck. I mean, I remember during Planar Chaos, the block, I was going crazy and rampant, insane, like spending hours on deck building. And I do that still now. Like, I still do hours of deck building when I want to build a new deck. Like, I gotta fix this Enchantress deck. Gotta wait for a card. Well, gotta wait for me and James to do this card transaction because you get pieces for the deck in there, and I want to finish it. But plus, what makes it easy for someone to jump in the game when life is hard? You got to work that job, got to pay those bills, got to keep food in your stomach, got to pay rent. You want to attract a mate, like a soulmate kind of person, or maybe you just want, like girly friend or boily friend on the side, and you want to have money for the funds. Magic is taking up life space financially nowadays. And collector value aside, I mean, like, if you put collector value on the side, like, is it worth it just to spend all this money on cardboard you might not keep? Wizard says most of their retention for players is people stepping in for like 4 years and walking away. You know what I'm saying? Like, where's the draw for new players to jump in? Like, new players have fun, and there's exciting things coming. Like me and my Jurassic Park set coming out. That's right. That wink was for you. Because our Jurassic Park set looks saucy. Saucy. Ooh. It's a true Banksy print. Yeah. Happy for the Wild Little Drain. The Wild Little Drain is looking pretty fun, pretty good. It looks like they cared for the set when designing it. If I was a new player, I think I would play Pauper and Pioneer first, then Commander after seeing how to actually play. Well, Cosmic, that's not a bad idea, but step into this in my shoes, right? Because I'm not disagreeing with you, because that's a smart way. But you're coming up with that conclusion because you know the game and you know the different formats of the game. Now imagine being someone who doesn't know nothing about formats, nothing about Commander. And Commander is probably the one thing you might know anything about. And you're stepping into a world where this product is either overpriced here or you don't know the sets very well. You're living in a world where thousands beyond thousands of cards exist. And you're at the base floor barely knowing what a basic land is and maybe what a sorcery is. And you're trying to step in and you want to learn this world. How scary is it? Or let's change the word from scary to intimidating. How intimidating is it for newer players? Especially when we get very clicky players who just group up and kind of ignore the world but play their own games, hang out with each other. The friendships can be hard to build because that's one of the best things about Magic was in that gathering aspect that people always kind of like hit on. It's kind of come almost as a joke when you talk about clicky. I mean, look at our community. Our community is kind of clicky, but the one thing that's unique about our community, we do try to reach out or let people walk in when they want to. But, there's a lot of cliques out there, best friends, and best friends lately are in the community of Magic at stores is if you got the money to support yourself to play, right? And because no one wants to hold someone's hand forever, but it's really hard. You got to have a thick skin to do it. You have to adjust. You have to transform yourself more to fit in the game. It feels like. Let's see what's this. I would have to say you have to have a hard skin to find a store to feel good in. Yeah, that's sometimes how it feels. Like my wife has had harder times fitting into stores and dealing with people because one of the LGSs we went to, they treated her like crap. Not the LGS people, but the players, because she's a girl. She must be new to Magic. She doesn't know everything. We can trick her by lying about rulings and stuff. She won't know the difference. Bunch of bullshit, And now as a newer player on that aspect for her, imagine how that made her feel. Not being part of something, not feeling a part of something, being treated like trash because you're not the expected player. You're not a good player. No, we're going to treat you bad, because people have to have this innate ability to one up people and all that jazz. All right. And all that, then I'd start them on Arena, right? Arena would probably be the best way to start someone on Magic, but then, hope they don't stumble into Alchemy and think Alchemy cards are going to exist in real life. The phases are the hard to grasp early. Yeah, the phases. I remember starting Magic and then tapping was kind of a weird thing to learn too. It took me a couple times to get that down. I'm very intimidating with new mechanics and synergies. Love janky combos. That's a lot to digest lately, right? And people are solving these combos like quick. They spoil a card, not even 24 hours go by, and someone's like, "Oh, I think I broke this card." Like that turtle dude. I have to look up more of the combo, but apparently there's like a big combo with land synergies with that new Tortoise and Wildsville Drain. Draft is where I've seen get some people in. Draft is possibly the most honest way to play Magic. By draft, I mean, or by honest, I should say, I mean, it's the most even format, even though there's cards that are banking if you pull them and stuff, but it's the most heart rendering part of Magic. It's the honest thickness of Magic. You want to play Ravnica, draft Ravnica. You'll get more of the flavor. Everybody's on even playing ground. Even the new players who may struggle might pull out a good card and accidentally win or something. It's really good. Hey, Stasis Orb. Sealed is a great way to learn, but if you want to, most card shops I will have an easy beginner pre-con to get a feel for the game. Card shops are full of clicks. Yep. And nice to see you, Stasis Orb. You're amazing. Thank you for stopping by. Yeah. Clicks. Clickety click clicks. I was never part of one. When I was in a magic shop, I had multiple clicks I hung around because, like Stasis Orb, he was a part of a clique, and I joined them when they played Cube some of the times. Then I hung out with my clique. It was more like the lower budget clique, and we had fun playing around BSing. But the nice thing about our store was people were willing to let you play with their stuff, like their decks. They let you play with their cube. As long as you're there to play and learn, we had no problems. But later on, that changed as people faded from the store and went their own directions, got into responsibilities. And I know certain things happened there. Yeah. Sup, Prime 406 Games. Surprised your little boot is awake. That's the next ability I want to absolutely break. Landfall. I love Landfall. One of my all-time favorite abilities that they ever made. It's so simple. Fist bump, Cosmic. Prime, James Willis. Are you on your way home? Nice. Kitchen table players, commander players, and the top end players, right? It's kind of how it breaks down to, isn't it? But we've seen people break into different formats or different cliques. Well, what's intimidating is when you don't know people and you're like, especially for some people who are afraid to get involved, they don't know how to emotionally react. Some people get aggressive when they react. Some people are too shy, or some people don't know how to judge boundaries. So some people don't have boundaries. So trying to meld in with a clique can be difficult at times. Trust me, I know. I'm a weird person. I understand this. So, that's just going at one level, looking at how it's new to get in the game. But then we talked about like the thousands of cards. And we talked about learning the game, steps, phases. The stack, still kind of convoluted. I mean, Wizards relies on the internet to fix everybody's issues. Wizards thinks all the players are just going to fix all the issues. They don't have to worry about teaching people how to play. They're going to be like, here, join this community. They'll teach you everything you want to know to buy our product. It's not like that anymore, especially when a lot of the sales are online. And when you're playing at your home. You just don't accept anybody at your home. You accept your friends, people you know. That's kind of how it is. LGSs are struggling. I mean, there are people who attend LGSs still. But when it comes to people playing in store, why? When you can go home, have a barbecue, play, and order some pizza, all that fun jazz. It's becoming less of a gathering of local LGSs. And I want to insinuate and enhance and put a full thought process on the local LGS. I can't think of the word I want to say. I want to put a focus on the LGS. LGS were the important part of the gathering in Magic. And been slowly diminishing for years because people are playing from home. They're playing online. I mean, some things we got. One second. Excuse me. Some things we got in life are pretty good. Like Spell Table is pretty neat, but now that's not at home. LGSs are struggling in that area where there are not enough players. Now there are tournament players, there are FNM players who go, but you can ask Stasis Orb. I don't know why I have his comments, but you can ask Stasis Orb. Me and him used to frequent the game store like every day that we weren't working. We're on break and stuff. Yeah, it's how I got pulled into the top end players clique. I was playing top end Magic, going to GPs and regional tournaments all over the US. Yeah, I remember that and some of your stories. The stack still gets me, right? Magic lucked out having Arena when COVID hit. Yeah, they did. Wizards did. Normal people can't afford to start the game with the current pricing. That's true. The current that's one thing I wanted to get into. So thank you, Prime, because that's one thing I was kind of skipping over. It's just Wizards relies on the older players, people like Stasis or Prime, Walter. Everybody's been playing for years. They rely on that fact when it comes to pricing. They know we'll pay certain prices as a community, as a group. They know we'll afford to do stuff like that when we can as a group, right? But the newer players are being ignored in the fact that the pricing is kind of excluding them. Even though the focus from Wizards wants to bring in newer players, but they're constant, we have to beat our last sales quota issue, which I understand is a business thing, and I don't fully understand all that business stuff. But when you're pricing out new players, it gets scary, it gets creepy. And by creepy, I mean, would you trust a guy that you just randomly met to sell you like a $10 booster pack when you don't know the game? Now it's not creeping when it's an LGS guy because I still think today Stasis Orb and I had one of the best LGS owners ever. Our friend Jamie, who owned the shop, he had the perfect system to get people in the game, to teach them the game. He introduced people to clicks to kind of get them into the realm of here's a new player. They want to learn, they want to play, they want to learn the game. Can you help them? He involved the community in his store because the community is what built him up. And, the community is what paid his bills, basically. And he really had this interesting outlook. Now, I'm not saying he's the only store owner that does that, but it's very unique that he did do that. Oh. Back when Derek and I started playing Magic at the shops 15 years ago, original duels were about $20 each. Yep. Missed opportunity there because I didn't know what they were. For $100 pre-con, I really wanted the sliver one, but I said, F that. And and passed on it, right? I mean, come on. It's a bad feeling when you get a pre-con that big and 4 slivers, and it didn't come with Sliver Hive. The one land that should have been included in the deck, and they didn't. Bloop, 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 bloop. You're going to forget all that information. I'm kidding. Oh, man. So, now, is it worth it for a new player to get in, right? I mean, standing at the front gates, you're looking into an LGS, you're there shopping for games. Like, let's say you're looking for new board games at your LGS. LGSs are pretty good for board games, or maybe you're into Warhammer and you already have the money, but you see people playing Magic the Gathering. All right. And you see there's more of a group of people playing Magic the Gathering. Do you want to feel accepted in that group, or do you just not going to care about that group? You're looking for a board game. Do you want to feel like this something's worth of getting invested into? Like, is there a draw just watching people play? Well, when the numbers of people playing have diminished in the physical store compared to online, it's going to look very sparse. It's not going to look like it's all there. Now, I can't speak for every store and how diminished their play group is because, some stores are doing well, some stores are not. I just know for a fact that even at my local LGS here, they don't get as much as a showing, except the only time they get a good showing is on pre-release. And everybody at pre-release is already clickety-click. They already know each other. They're already talking to each other, and it's hard to get into. Because, when I was young, I learned if you want to be a part of a group, you got to force yourself to be involved with the group. And I no longer have that mindset because I'm too intimidated by new people. It's very strange because, there's a term. If you want to be accepted, you got to force yourself to be accepted, So if you want to be accepted by a group, you got to put yourself in the group. You got to join the group, try to act like you're part of the group, but introduce yourself, and try to match their mentality. Well, I'm too old to even do all that, right? As an old player. But new players, they could probably the step away from your morals. Is it there? Your morals can be different than other people's. You don't have to mix well with other people. But, to be a part of a clique, that is an experience that involves evolution of a character's personality, a character's characteristics. You know what I'm saying? Because eventually when you become really good friends with people at your local LGS, and this is how it used to be, you'd be invited to join them to go to like McDonald's across the street to eat lunch. They wanted you to be part of their life a little extra outside the shop. You don't get that anymore. It's all individual people now because barely anybody knows anybody except for the people who keep showing up to the events, and they slowly learn over the events and play on Spell Table. Now, Spell Table is what's keeping Magic alive right now when it comes to games. LGSs are struggling to sell product, and LGSs are the best places to sell and play Magic. You know what I'm saying? They're the best. There should be. Look how bright that light is. Sorry. All right, let's see. What's this? Before, Derek and I had a choice: build the top tier standard deck for $250 and buy a second edition Time Walk in fair condition. I was dumb and built a standard deck. Yep. Pokemon Yu-Gi-Oh! Warhammer D&D. Yep. Lots of games. Let's see. Of course, Magic and draft tournaments. Yep. Richie Dubs. Rich Dubs. Rich Dubs. Hello. You got us in the moment. So, like, imagine this. All right. From someone who's been playing Magic, who's kind of got pushed away from Magic financially because he can't afford it, kind of like that stuff. So I'm lucky when I get mail like Prime sent me, which is not, I get, it's amazing the support I've gotten so far from people. And I cannot thank you guys enough for helping me stay in the game that I love so much. But all aside, there's so much scary tactics out there. Like we have people who talk about the point of the game is to be collectible, right? There's a collectability to Magic. There's supposed to be a financial gain in Magic. A little. It's not supposed to be a guarantee, but it's supposed to be there. Like, how do you even break that apart, right? But how do you explain that to a newer player, Like standard was the main focus on Magic, it had more of a breath of life to it. You know what I'm saying? When standard was a breath of Magic, before they started messing up with all the rotations and whatnot, and they had a big tournaments, the tournaments you hear people talking about whatnot, there was a breath of life to Magic. Gosh, pod just turned off. All right, that was a draw as a new player. Oh, I could be competitive at this. I could be better at this. Now, since Commander has become the more tabletop-friendly, most popular part of Magic the Gathering of all time, it's feeling suffocated. It's feeling bad. It's feeling horrible. Because in Standard, you only cared about Standard Sabs. I didn't expect a theme song. What a bonus. Hell yeah. So Commander is a great format. I love the format. Stasis Orb. I've loved Commander as soon as I started playing it. He started playing Commander before me. I didn't get into it very first, like a couple months till down the road. But I loved Commander as soon as I started playing it. Like, as soon as I got in Commander, I loved it. It was the oddball format. It was the poor person format, really, to get into. Plus, you had synergies. You had fun times. You had combos. You'd build your deck. You'd collect cards as you went on just to get cards for your deck. Eventually, it was the perfect format for people to get into. Wizards gets their grubby little hands on Commander, and they start printing product for it. And now the cheap format is no longer the cheap format. It is the premier, expensive, premium format. Now imagine this. The Prince and the Pauper, right? The Prince and the Pauper switch places. Prince being standard, Pauper being Commander, right? Standard was the expensive format, which is fine. 60-card format, solved. Pauper, this extraordinary format, who had a lot to offer, but was for the poor people, poor people. And they swap places. Well, Standard learns a lesson that it needs to live, and it can't just stay poor anymore. But now, Commander gets too friendly in the Prince's position. Not too friendly, too comfy in the Prince's position. A lot of people accept the new Prince without knowing the switch was there. Really, I mean, the obvious switch is there's a focus on Commander. But now the Pauper does not want to get rid of his position of being top, where you have to focus on every format or every set that comes out. Every set that comes out from standard, modern, legacy, and everything. All those sets that come out for those formats, you have to pay attention to. Not only that, 1 million people are paying attention to those formats. Like billions, millions of billions of people are focusing on all those sets for those formats, because Commander is every format is legal, or every card in every format is legal, and Standard cares about this rotating format, right? Even though they extended it, right? They extended Standard to make it look more appealing. But Commander forces an eye on everything Wizards puts out. Standard didn't. What's more profitable, Commander or Standard? Well, obviously right now it's Commander, and that's what we're doing. Now, here's a question, and let me get the chat really quick. Hold the line. I never crack it. Yep, that I'll do. But reserved lists, stash them, right? Check. I'll never sell, but trade them. Yep. The reserve list reprint equity Watsy didn't tap into. Yep. To be fair, Hasbro makes the cards, not the prices. Yep. So what goes on is, and I'm actually going somewhere with this conversation, right? So the pauper is in the prince's position. The prince is in the pauper's position. The community, which drives the financial value of cards here, is what keeps the throne with Commander in the set. What was once a pauper set is now the prince. He rules over the kingdom, and the kingdom is served by us servants who spend our money. And now the prices of collectibilities go up. Now, not every card in the world is worth a lot of money, obviously, but the stigma is there because it hurts. It's the price of Magic is now the boogeyman of Magic, and that scares people. But here's what I want to get down to. It's not Wizards' problem. It's not Hasbro's problem that they're raising the prices the way they are. It's they're doing it, so they're the ones holding the weapon here. But this is the time when we look at new players and who don't know if they want to join the game, how scary it is. It turns around and it becomes, I am the problem. We are the problem, right? In our own aspect. All right. We are and I'm not talking about you individually. I'm talking about as a group of people. We are the problem. People who bought it Magic, they come out with a great set. We know the value of the set. We want it. We buy it out. They print more of it. We buy it out. They're like, oh, wow, that sold out quick. What if we raise the price a little higher? Well, we like it. The value's there. The price is a little higher, but we'll take the hit. Oh, buy it out. They reprint more. We buy it out. What are we showing Wizards? The community will buy the product. What does that show the new players? Well, it's a living game, but these prices are getting too damn high to even invest in. Like, why would I want to try something for that might not even last a full month to maybe a whole year? These prices are going high. We buy the product. We support the company, People can bitch and complain about product prices all the time. We're the ones who got us there or got them there. We're the ones that said, okay, we'll buy it. Think about this. And this is just what I'm about to say is going to be just for metaphorical purposes only, but based on fact. The Walking Dead Secret Lair. Everybody pissed and bitched about that Secret Lair. I was against it because I hated the small format of it. Like, it was exclusive, right? Everybody bitched about it. Everybody complained about it, said they didn't want it. But it was the best-selling Secret Lair of that time. And yes, you know? And what I'm getting at is the community is two-faced. We'll bitch about the product, but we'll buy the product. A lot of people are against Magic 30, but it's sold. You know, I'm doing this for a reference. I would probably just look like a weird person, you know? I could use a few cheaper reserve list options for my EDH decks. Yeah. Not on sealed though. Nope. So as a new player, when you step into Magic, you don't really fully, as a new player into Magic, you don't fully grasp or fathom the depth of Magic. But when you hear people like us talk about Magic the Gathering, right? When you hear us talk about the gripes, we talk about the good luck pulls, we really come off two-faced because, you know, we click on, like, say, DJ streamer or my morning coffee stream or someone else's stream. They're bitching about product prices, but they love the game. They're talking about cards that they want to build synergies around, and the price hasn't really adjusted differently, right? You know, so it's like we make the game scary to new players, new people. We make the game. I mean, Prime just spent a good chunk of money on me, and I can't thank him enough because it's an amazing opportunity to build new decks or play around with new decks. Mwah, love it a lot, right? And that was more like chef's kiss more. You know, excited. He did it because, you know, I love the game, and he's like, Derek would appreciate this. But we on the value of playing the game. We understand the game itself. We understand the collectability side, and we understand what's hurting. Yes, Magic is hurting, and it's hurting us. Wizards is hurting us, and Wizards don't care because, you know, as long as they're making that money. And we got to think as a group, a community, which we should think about the group as a community. We should care how we treat the prices. If we honestly don't like a product, we should honestly not buy it. You know, just because we don't like a product, and we know if not a lot of people buy it, it would be collectible. Which is what people do. People are like, oh, if no one buys the product, it'll be collectible. So I should buy the product, and billions of people buy the product, and most successful set ever, even though people didn't like it. You know, it's a very strange stew of emotions when you're trying to think about how two-faced the community is. So when I say the community, I want you to imagine an embodiment like a church. You know, people at a church, and they think of themselves as a unit, you know, and people kind of gather what around and do what the preacher says or has their opinions about the preacher says, and they tithe in, right? People pay their tithes. That's pretty much what the community has become. We've become church members to Wizards of the Coast. They preach a good product. We buy into it with our tithing money, and they keep requesting more tithing money, and it's paying their bills to sustain the church that's going on, and the church is branching out with their missionary LGSs and trying to give them good product. But when the preacher is getting too high on their pedestal, right, too high, and the cost of going to church is too high, we start breaking faith. We start breaking our spiritual connection or our emotional connection with the product, with the brand. Now, people don't usually use that kind of analogy when talking about Magic, but the way I see it, that's how people feel about Magic. It's becoming very structurally unsound, and you can't have faith in a product when it's looking scary from the followers in the church. Is that a weird analogy? Am I making sense? All right. It's more diverse two-faced person. You know, yeah, there's a lot of different things, but I'm talking about the common perception. I might offer. Post Malone buying the ring for $2 million. Yep, that's a lot of money. I don't even know if the card is worth that much, but he spent that much. All right, nap time. Good night, Prime. So the reason why I use the church as an analogy, a church as an analogy, I should say, not the church, is because Wizards of the Coast has that strong of a fan base, that strong of a base, right? Oh, what's this? I personally don't care about a cash return in Magic. I buy and play for have fun, right? But what I'm talking about, when I use the church as an example, like I said, Wizards of the Coast has the following. They have that strong of people who are diehards, people who are wells, who follow the realm of Magic as far as they can or will take it. We have people who at many different levels will spend their money on what they want to build their decks and have different portions or different parts that follow the same strength of love they have for the game. And the further away from church you go, the less faith people have. And there's a big following here. And it is amazing. All right. Let's see. Ooh. Hold on. See if that works. So it's fine. It's fun. What I'm saying is when you put an establishment to, like, if you name something like an establishment like that, you can kind of justify it. Like, most times people look at things like this and they try to reason with it. They try to put the most simple terms to it, and they try to make it as simple as possible, and that's what scares. That's what scares people, is how much they can relate. Because, like, people have different experiences with Wizards. People have different experiences altogether, and the common experience right now is the negativity. What's that? Yeah. Oh, hold on. We got a special guest. It's popping in. Stasis Orb. You're muted.
You are correct. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. What's up, dude?
Man, it's been a long time since I heard your voice.
It's been a minute. Been traveling a lot, so it makes sense.
Yeah. But man, so just been going crazy with all this jazz. Like, I hope I carried the stream well enough to be on it.
Yeah.
Man, like, your voice sounds so different to me because I've heard it in years.
Yeah, and then also I'm speaking through a microphone, so it probably sounds different in general altogether, for sure. Yeah, man.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah, just listening in on your stream and such, like, it's, and viewers out there, my name's Andrew, good friend of Derek for many, many years. We go way far back, years ago. But just continuing, just figured I'd join in on the conversation a bit and just kind of give my 2 cents on it. But it's crazy talking about, like, the pricing of Magic and everything like that. It's outrageous these days. Like, I think people have been driving up prices like crazy, and I think one of the biggest problems, like, especially more recently, if I want to put my 2 cents in, I think the Lord of the Rings set was kind of a good prime example as to how badly inflated things are, like how expensive things are getting. Because I mean, even the uncommons, those Nazguls, I don't know if you've
Right.
seen the price of those. They're like $13 a pop
Right.
for an uncommon. Like
Mhm.
last time I paid $13 for an uncommon, I think was for a Cabal Therapy
Uh-huh.
back when Type 2 was a thing. But
Mhm.
like just sitting here like, man, people are these are ridiculous. Like Orcish Bowmasters. I don't know if you've been looking at the price of those. Those are like almost $40 a pop now. And that's just a
Yeah, it's
rare.
insane.
It's just a rare.
Right.
Like what's going on here? Why are these it's just it's bad. It's really bad right now, especially with these like sets that, and obviously these are not popper modern. That was a good
Mhm.
set for modern. That was a because they try to make sure that they have something for their formats, but it's ridiculous. And um my favorite format's actually Legacy. So I love old Magic. Used to
Okay.
have Legacy Dredge built. Derek knew
Nice.
I was all about Legacy Dredge, but but yeah, man. Good to hear from you again, though. Thanks for
Yeah.
letting me join in.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Like it gets intimidating being the only one on the show sometimes. Like I usually love when other people jump in and have their chime because like I can get it myself on a soapbox and not mean to and go on a rant like I just did. Uh, but Legacy, I could see you getting into that kind of format, knowing the player you are. You've always kind of stayed in a modern realm and just kind of went back
Yeah,
into
oh yeah,
the different formats and your collectability. And that makes sense for you as a character, as a person, I should say. And I could definitely see that being really fun. Like Legacy
It-
Dread, remember when you first played that deck, you tested it. I can't remember whose deck it was, but you played it and you're like, you
it
can
was
play a no
Aaron's.
land. Yeah, you're like, I could play a no land deck and win.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing with Legacy is that um the thing with Legacy is that every deck that you play is broken. So when everything's broken, nothing's broken, right? Everything's fair
Right.
essentially. Um, and it's really like after because you ended up leaving shortly after Jamie moved to North Ogden or before Jamie moved to North Ogden and opened up his shop, right?
No, it was a bit after that because it was like about a couple
Okay.
years.
Okay, yeah. So I made another friend. I don't know if you met him or not. Um oh my gosh, what was his name? He just disappeared off the face of the earth too. I had no idea what happened. I think his name was Blaine.
I've had interactions with Blaine.
Okay, yeah, he was the big legacy player at the store. He had like 12 legacy top tier 1 decks built.
Hmm.
Um and so we would always play test legacy and then we would try to attend the tournaments and stuff like that. And legacy was just such a fun format, but it's very very expensive when you're
Right.
playing when you go sit down and you open up, you pull the deck out and you're like, oh man, this is like a $12,000 deck. You're like, what the heck?
Right. Yeah, I remember people saying stuff like that all the times. Like this is like a couple grand and 60 cards.
And you go into legacy and you're like, oh, I have to put a house payment on it. Got it.
I remember when Aaron built his cube before he sold it for his car.
Oh, he sold it for a lot more. I think, yeah. So Aaron built as close to a power cube as he possibly can,
Hmm.
foiled out pretty much the entire cube that was possible to foil out. If there was like a more expensive foil, like for example, he had a couple of 7th edition foils in there that were worth a ridiculous amount of money. Um, but Aaron, I think, turned around and sold it for, I want to say close to 60K, I think is what he got for it. Even though
Uh,
that cube was worth probably about 150K. But yeah,
right.
he had literally every expensive card you could possibly think of. The only thing he kept out of it, I think, was the Power 9, which was fair.
Right.
He didn't want Oh no, he had Time Twister in it.
Time Twister. Hold
which
on.
is
Hold
which is
on.
fair.
See what
Okay.
chat's saying. All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Personal. Okay, we already covered that one. Walter, it depends on how you get in. I bought into Modern 2015, paid premium for the older cards. They're all tanked since then. All right. Now here's like my newest bestie here, James Willis. Me and him talk a lot. Almost after every live I do, he talk a lot. I have heard many of a story of YouTube being little magic delinquents. You don't know how many times talking about how that one day we went to the Raz Eldrazi spoiler thing that happened in North Ogden, and we had to convince my sister to drive us down to the shop. That was when Jamie was in North Ogden. No, not North Ogden, Central Ogden.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up owing her money to give us a ride down there, and she still can't believe that we went through all that trouble just to look at a card. And we got Emrakul out of the mix. I mean, come on. Sucks when you buy in when you have the value, and they abandon the concept of older, more powerful, less common cards. That's true. Well, because
Hey, Derek, I have a little trivia question for you.
What's up?
Since you were around in this time, do you remember who the first planeswalker to get revealed was?
Wasn't it Grook?
Nope.
No, so it was either Grook or Jace. No, I could be wrong. There's 5 of them. There's Grook, Jace, Eljani, Liliana, and Chandra. So I got 5 options before I'm wrong, or before I'm right.
True. It's true. So far, you haven't said it yet. Well, I mean, you said it once because you named all 5, but
right.
James, wrong.
So it wasn't Liliana, it wasn't Grook.
No, you said Grook and Jason and Johnny. Nope, wasn't Chandra. It was Liliana. She was the very first planeswalker to get revealed because during the Lorwyn spoilers, everyone saw that card and was like, "What is that? What does it do?"
Right. Well, it's been a long time. I forgot which planeswalker. I just remember the 5 originals.
Yeah, because I remember everyone was just like, "Oh my gosh, that pre-release in general was such a nightmare for judges because everyone was using planeswalkers wrong. They were like using them during their opponent's turn. They were like, now like, can I attack it like this? Or like, what happens when I do enough? It was awful. I felt so bad for the judges at that pre-release.
James Willis in here loves the Lorwyn block.
Oh, me too.
And he's like, that's fair. I even talked to him about it. It's like how you, John, and a group of your friends just went crazy buying boxes to draft out of.
So, funny story about that pre-release. When I joined that pre-release, it was at Heebie-Jeebies.
Yeah,
because I can't remember why we didn't go to Jamie's shop. I think it was a majority of the friends at the time we were playing with were playing at Heebie-Jeebies, but we showed up for the pre-release and I signed up and they handed me my little box and my little sheet and everything at the table that you first initially checked in at, and then they'd go to the front counter, they hand you your product, and then you go to your seating.
Right.
And they handed me all my stuff, and then I went to go sit down, and I got through the whole pre-release, and this was like probably one of the first pre-releases I think you and I went to.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to the end of the tournament, and I did, I did okay. I was like X and like 2 or something like that. I wasn't a very good Magic player, but I knew how to play Magic, I guess. I was X and 3, and I got like a booster pack. But at the end of it, I looked back and I was like, crap, they didn't take my money yet. I didn't pay for this pre-release. And we ended up going and getting lunch and everything. And I was like, when do we pay for this pre-release? And they're like, wait, you didn't pay it? They're like, no, they just handed me my stuff. And I was like, they're like, dude, you got the pre-release for free. It was so funny. We were laughing so hard about it.
That's kind of funny because remembering John from Heebie-Jeebies, the owner.
Oh, especially him. Oh my God, dude. Just milking everybody for every bit of money he possibly can.
Right. You remember when first place prize at a tournament was a large
Oh
sticker
man.
book of Pokemon stickers?
Dude, that was the worst tournament ever. It was like I played in that tournament and I took second. No, I took first place because I got the sticker book. And so it was like first place gets this really cool Pokemon sticker book. Second place, you get a playmat. Come and pick a playmat. And I was like, did I lose? Like what? What happened?
You know, just because of that experience and that conversation we had a long time ago about did we lose, I still use that joke all the time when something stupid happens as like supposed to be something great. I'm like with Commander Masters, I'm like, well, you open a Commander Masters pack and your first red is tall round. You're like, did I lose? Because I tried starting a joke. With Commander Masters saying hashtag we need friend because they like print them on almost every reprint set. He's like a 50-cent card.
Yep. John was not the best tournament organizer.
No,
by far.
No, but you know what? He's still got a strong store. He's struggling a little bit here and there. I've seen that. I actually kind of talked to him every once in a while on Facebook, or at least someone from the store.
That's crazy. Well, I mean, ultimately, like John is, even if things go really south for him, he has probably a couple $1 million of product. I mean, he got that first edition Superman comic book signed by Stan Lee. Like when he showed up to it was Comic-Con, but Comic-Con sued him for it. And they had to change it to PAX, I think is what they changed it to now in Utah. Right. But Stan Lee was there for the first one, and John was able to get Stan to sign his like first edition Superman comic from like way back in the day, and let alone that's going to be worth a ridiculous one, especially now that Stan Lee is passed. Like it's even.
You mean Spider-Man?
No, it was Superman. It was the original. It was the one where he's like holding up the car over his head. It was like one of the very first. Original comic books. The comic book alone was worth quite a bit of money in general, but with Stan Lee signing it, it's even more. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I remember when he bought out System of Down's drummers half of his collection.
Mm-hmm.
And like some people don't even believe me about that story, but I'm like, I don't know how to prove that, but he did it. I'm like, and he bought a whole new store just to store all these comics.
Yeah. Well, and on top of that, like I know he was struggling there for a bit and couldn't afford the building he was living in, or not living in, where his card shop was located, because that's a historic street, and with Ogden getting its whole revamp and removing the crime and everything like that, everything the governor's done for that town, you know, John couldn't afford that place anymore because it was just way too expensive. I mean, nowadays it's just like living in general is just expensive, but especially if it's historical, oh my God, forget it.
Well, John is one of those coming up people. Like we might not like John all the way through as a person, but when he started that store, he was living in that store. He had the whole half that store sectioned off for his living quarters.
Oh yeah, and then he also had the upstairs area too. So
there was an upstairs area there.
Yeah, there's an apartment complex inside.
Oh, I did not realize there was an upstairs part to that. Like, because I remember that he had the wall to block off his living behind the shop and some of the storage. I did not realize there was an upstairs area. Mm-hmm. Have you ever been up there, or you just know about it?
I just know about it.
Well, that makes sense. That'd been interesting, you know. But like my sister, I found out a few years later, went to high school with John. So that was interesting to know there was like a family relation there, because like they used to walk around with the skateboard in his hand and look dressed all weird.
Oh, that's John. John just dresses weird, dyes his hair blue.
Right. I don't understand that. It's never looked good for him.
No, I feel like he never got out of that high school look. Like he's like, oh, this is my look for life.
Right.
The look for the rest of my life. That's kind of how it's just been. You know, he hasn't changed. So.
Right, but I remember having a conversation with some people, talking about Jamie's story and he's grown. I remember because like every time I go to Utah now, I try to visit Game Grid just to see Jamie.
For
Because
sure.
he's been a
great
crucial
guy,
part of our lives, and he was there in our building of magic memories and stuff. Every time I go to Utah, like last time, I barely had a conversation with him because he was on the phone with one of his kids, one of his newer kids. I don't know the full story, but I know he has kids with another wife, type thing, and so I barely got a couple words in with him. Got to fist bump him and say, "Hey, hello, nice to see you." And I bought a couple cards. But like when he started from, I don't remember because I got the same card stolen twice from me at the original shop by somebody. It was Magus of the Wheel, one of the $13 card. When he was above the theater on 40th Street.
Yep, that's where you
Right.
introduced me. Yep.
Yeah. Well, you're the one who introduced me to that shop, not me.
Did I introduce you to that shop? Who took me to that
Yeah.
shop? I think you know who I think it was. I think it was Craig.
It probably was Craig, even though I have not seen a lick of him since we left.
Oh, I know. I miss that guy. Miss that guy a lot.
Craig,
That's an old friend that I wish I still had a way to contact, man. Yep.
the guy
We were
who can
close.
build a magic deck without thinking about it, but once he puts thought into it, it sucks.
For some reason, all of his decks would mana screw him. It was so funny because he had a run there where all of his decks were mana screwing him unless he took a land out of the deck. And then when he took a land out of the deck, it all of a sudden stopped getting mana screwed. And I was just like, how is that even possible? It doesn't make sense.
Right. Right.
But yeah.
But to continue, but we've seen Jamie from this little shop. So for the viewers out there used to be this theater on 40th Street in a small building. So the theater was like a one-screen theater. And there was a little stairway up to the top. And there was a small 8x8 shop. And by 8x8, I just mean small, not the actual dimensions. I mean, there's barely room for a skinny person like me at the time to walk through the shop and not feel claustrophobic. He made enough money, was able to move down the road a bit, and he moved down like a couple blocks. Then he got a bigger store, and hey, DJ, what's up? And he ended up making business, and this business was right in front of the McDonald's. It was a great decision. One of the most important lessons I learned for an LGS. If you're going to have an LGS, be next to a fast food joint. Then that's where Andrew and I grew up in Magic, and that's where Andrew became more of a competitive player, got into Magic, and that's where we grew up with when we moved out of Job Corps into the real world, and that's where we got to hang our extra time with because screw girls, we wanted Magic kind of thing. And that was for the most. That's
well, it was a matter of like and at that time, like you and I weren't the wealthiest people, and we were just trying to survive that
right.
aspect. It wasn't a matter. We couldn't date anybody because we could barely afford to live ourselves. So it was like we had to take what little free time we had available and use it to go out and socialize, which I think is a very important factor in regards to growing up, especially if you're in that around that age bracket of because what I was like 19, 20, and it was a good way to get out and get yourself involved with a community. And alone on that though, like I remember when Jamie switched over to the new store, man, they were he needed to open up because I know he also for those listening, Jamie not only does his card shop, but he also teaches karate. He's like
Right.
a black belt and everything like that, and he teaches. And so he had his karate studio. So the building he got was basically two stores in one, and he was able to open up his karate studio right next to it, which was really worked out for him. So It was awesome to see him grow to that level. But him and his go ahead.
From the small origins, that was incredible that he.
Oh yeah, the little shoebox that he had above the theater was not very good, man. It was rough. We're talking like if you sit at a table, if there's a tournament, you are literally like bumping shoulders with the person next to you. Like
Right.
you'd play on you couldn't even have a play mat out. That's how how cramped it was in that tiny little store. But
Right.
yeah, he definitely improved and moved up, and he's gone nothing but up the whole time. And
Oh yeah.
when Jamie, because Jamie did at one point eventually sell his portion of his store, and sold it to another individual. Um, he kind of ran the store very improperly. He ran it more of like, oh, this is where all my friends are gonna hang out, and it kind of ruined the store. Its reputation was kind of going down the drain, and then Jamie was kind of upset about it, so
Oh,
he
you're talking
ended
about
up
the 36th Street store.
36th Street game grade. Yeah, ended up
Yeah.
going to the dirt because it just wasn't run as tightly and neat as Jamie was running it, and it was a very awkward time. But when Jamie was up on the 36th Street store, yeah, because Laura Wynn had just like it was what was the set after Laura Wynn? It was Morning Tide, right? It
Yeah,
was Laura
morning
Wynn.
tide or evening tide.
Eventide, yeah. Um, Around that time, I built the Elves deck, the tier one competitive Elves deck.
Mhm.
When everyone was playing like fairies, I can't remember. I think goblins were kind of a thing.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember. Yeah, because I built a
yeah,
zombie deck during that time.
yeah. So I was playing green black elves, and I built the like tier one like competitive deck list that everyone kept talking about. And the competitive group that was playing at Jamie's shop at that time saw that I was trying to play like on a competitive scale. So they like kind of pulled me in and were like, "Oh, you want to play competitive? That's awesome. We could teach you the road and the ropes." And that's kind of what pulled me in. And in the long run, a large group of those people I just did not care for, man. It was the way the way is like, as you put earlier, clicks, and they
Right.
were just a giant click, and it was very difficult to get involved with these competitive players. It's like if you either play at a competitive pro level, or you're just not cool, or not good enough to hang out with us or whatever. It's just such a sad way to look at the game. And like, guys, it's just a game. Like, even though you play competitively, it still comes down to it just being a game.
Right.
And it was really cool to go into that scene, though, because it really kind of opened up the game a lot more for me, and it made it for me, because I have a bit of a competitive spirit. It gave me
Very.
something
Yeah.
to drive towards, and I started going to all those all those GPs and stuff like that, and we were traveling all over the US for that,
Mhm.
for that reason. And beating pro players and stuff. I still think one of my greatest victories is when I beat Luis Scott Vargas, and
Nice.
he wrote an entire article about how I almost lost him the GP. It was so funny.
Oh,
uh,
you wrote an article, huh?
yeah,
Mhm.
there's an article somewhere in his list of articles. I think the article was titled was like how Horde Smelter Dragon almost costed me the GP.
I remember you telling me about that story. I forgot about it till now, but I remember you telling me that story because you came back from the GP and you're like telling me about how you beat Louis Scott Vargas.
Yeah, it's crazy because about that is it wasn't even me who brought up the article. It was the guys at the card shop. They were like, "Dude, did you see the article Luis Scott Vargas just released?" And I was just like, "Wait, what?" And they're like, "Yeah, look." And then I was like, "Oh, he's talking about the Horde Smelter Dragon." By the way, guys, if you ever do a flashback draft and you're doing Mirrodin or Scars of Mirrodin, and you get a Horde Smelter Dragon, just play it. It wins the game automatically. It's a dragon that eats artifacts in a set that's like 85% artifacts.
Right. Right. You know how many how many times I pass that dragon up because it's not super systematic in EDH, but like
No.
in that format, it's like it's a banging rare and artifact set.
Yeah, it was broken. The card was absolutely absurd, and then it ends the game really quickly because it's like what's 4 mana, destroy target artifact, and then he gets pumped equal to the artifact's mana cost. Like,
Mhm.
I remember Luis Scott Vargas played a Phyrexian Juggernaut against me, which is like a 6 mana 6/6 the Juggernaut rules. Can't be
Right.
blocked by walls. Has to attack each turn if able. And he had to vapor snag it back to his hand, which is return target creature to its owner's hand. Its controller loses a life. So he paid the life just to bounce the Juggernaut back to his hand. So I didn't kill it with my Hornswelter Dragon to give it +6/+6. It was really funny. I was like, man, that's a bad spot to be in.
Right. So you know, that reminds me, because you're the one who introduced. Well, I know it was Eric Silsby who introduced us to the cube, but it was you that got into the cube. Then we built a cube that was jank. But then, ever since you built your cube, it inspired me to build my primary cube that I have.
Yeah.
You know, the limited format, which I believe you played a lot, especially for drafting old formats, because draft is like like I try to tell people, drafting is like the purest way to play Magic. It's the most even ground. Even the newest player can accidentally pull a win and not know it until they play.
I believe it or not, I won my first draft and I played against 3 of the top players in the state of Utah, and I didn't even my deck was mediocre, but it worked out, and it was really funny because the players that I beat were even questioning it. Like, they were like, "Wait, he beat you?" And he's like, "Yeah, he won." And I'm like, "Yeah, that was well, it was Time Spiral. That was a Time Spiral draft." And
Right.
I took a really janky card called Merganda Petroglyphs, which is a 4-mana enchantment that gives all creatures with no abilities get +2/+2.
Right.
And I opened up a foil one and a regular one, and I took the foil one, and then the regular one came back, and all I took was a bunch of vanilla, like 2/2s and 3/3s, and I just was destroying everybody with it because everyone had all these like cards with abilities, so all my creatures were massive and their creatures were just tiny. Oh, it was so funny. It was
That's so awesome.
so funny.
I remember the people were surprised at that night, because I know I wasn't drafting that night, because I didn't get drafting till like a year later after that night. And you got to like inform people. They were inviting you to play drafts again. They were like, "Andrew, you're good at draft," and you like played once, like, play again. And, you know, and I've seen this happen before with another character named Derek, if you remember Derek, from the 36th Street game grid. And he was getting on the rules bounds, trying to get into the rules, trying to become a judge and everything. And he started trying to play like you guys, and he won a limited. And I remember the first thing he said is like, "Am I one of you guys now?" I'm like, "Why would you ask?" That's a weird question. Why don't you just say? And you were in that group too, because that was the night. That was the day that Mike, the redhead guy, paid for my pre-release. That whole weekend of pre-release, because he got his taxes back and he wanted to do something nice for people, so he paid for mine and another guy's full return around the pre-release, and he was all in the rules. He wanted to be competitive. If you don't remember, he was the guy who said, "I want to buy every Magic card that ever existed," and he even had a whole price on them.
Yep.
I'm like, wow.
Yeah, but when you get that level of, yeah. Well, it looks like he won't be getting the one ring if that's the case, but well, the like, you know, the real one. I will say this. I think one of the going back to like, am I one of you guys? Like, when I was part of that, I was kind of like, because I'm a very humble human being. I don't gloat about my wins or anything, even though I talk about the LSV win or whatever, but that's just a funny thing. And I didn't even know about the article until the guys at the shop all brought it up to my attention. But, you know, I got along with the majority of everybody at the card shop, but it didn't seem like the people I was playing with were always in tune to that level of understanding and helping out new players and stuff like that. They would just want to, you know, "Oh, you're not going to help me. You know, we're not, you know, we don't care about you. Like, you don't offer anything to the table." It's just like, why do players have to do that? Why do players, like, why does it take someone to play a competitive deck to get you to like to get any attention. That doesn't make any sense. Like, you gotta inspire people to play the game, and yeah, you might not have the best deck, but I mean, play what you got. As our first cube we built, that was like literally made up of just like, I think we had like 3 rares of each color, and they were like not very good rares. They were just okay. And then a bunch of commons and uncommons we had that were like, oh, this might be good enough. And then we played it, and I remember mind control being super broken because you were like, I play this, and then I'm like, no, I play this.
I remember that. Well, you had mind control and treachery, and you were just stealing my stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun time.
Oh god,
you made me hate blue so hard.
Oh, absolutely. Blue is dumb. It's such a degenerate color. It's why it's the most expensive color in Magic. If you even go to basic lands, like foil basic lands, for some reason the island is always either like 25-50 cents more than just the standard other colors. It's just like everybody wants to play blue because blue has all the card draw and all the counter spell and controls the game, and it's just like, oh, I mean, my first commander deck was a Zami. Mono blue. Yeah, it was a Zami, and I played Wizards Control. And
I remember that because
the deck had like, yeah, the deck had like, I think it had like 6 or 7 infinite combos in it, and I just had to control the game long enough to be able to combo off and just win the game. And it was just so degenerate. But man, I you know who I sold that deck to?
No, I
sold it to Davin. Do you remember Davin?
Yeah, the short little guy.
Yeah, the guy got permanently kicked out of the store. I sold it to him for like $130, and I wish I held on to it, and because I wasn't even like in like an issue or needed cash or anything like that. He just didn't have a commander deck, and I was like his friend, and he was like, dude, I need a commander deck. I would like a really good one. Would you sell yours? And I'm like, sure. You know what? I'm playing less commander these days. I'll sell you my zombie deck. But I had that deck completely foiled out. On top of that, I had the original I had Cold Snap islands. I had all foil Cold Snap islands in that deck.
Like Snowlands or just
Snowlands? Yeah, Cold Snap Snowlands, all foiled out. I had like 45 of them, I think. But I also had a foil extra planar lens, which was incredible because obviously only snow-covered islands were doubling up on mana. So even if my opponent was playing blue, he wasn't doubling up on his mana unless he had snow-covered lands. And at that time, snow-covered lands were quite difficult to get a hold of outside of, it was Cold Snap it was that big gap, from Ice Age to Cold Snap, and then Snowlands were very, very difficult to get a hold of. I mean, even at that time for my foils, I was spending like $5 to $6 a pop for each Snowland.
That's crazy. And now you can get the Snowlands for a little bit cheaper nowadays.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Remember when Wizards of the Coast was jokingly, or when everyone was just like, when are they going to come out with the 6th color? And then they came out with wastes.
Right.
Like, it's the 6th color.
I brought that up to my wife, and she was like, that it's basically a color. It's just like it doesn't count as a color, but it's basically a color because he has to be a waste.
Yeah. And I will say this: if the opportunity ever arises in any draft, I am the 5-color guru, I guess is a good way to put it. As far as making 5-color work in limited, it's quite hilarious. A lot of my decks have been hysterically like they just work because I make them work.
I feel the same way. I cannot draft any format without at least getting into 3 colors, let alone pulling out cards from every other color because they're just powerful. I get that. Like the 5-color thing, it's a real thing.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's and especially how more accessible lands are these days is absolutely phenomenal.
I know that's what bothered me about March of the Machines is there was no land cycle in that set. Like I loved March of the Machines set as a Timmy set and everything.
It was a 2-color set though. Like I mean, I don't know. Every time I played it, I always got stuck playing like some form of white something, blue
Right.
white, black white, red white, because white was just so powerful in that set,
Well,
and it was like, why wouldn't anyone play white? Like this set, like the white cards are insane. But the main thing I felt like with that set though, it was a 2-color set, so it really wasn't that bad if you didn't have the mana fixing.
I understand your experience, but for a multicolored set, they should have had rare lands in that set. Like it reminded me like Ravnica Plus, even though we're going back to Ravnica. We're going back to Ravnica, everybody. We're getting a remastered set. Mwah.
That's fair. I mean, I played original Ravnica.
That's when
But
you and I both got in. Like we
well,
played a little
that's
bit
when I
before
got
then.
back. Yeah, you have to remember when I first started playing Magic, Mercadian Mask just hit the shelf. So
Oh, yeah.
I go even further back before I even met Derek. But yeah,
No doubt. But that's when we both got really into the game. Because I remember your Tinker deck is what kind of drew you into Magic. Because because before Tinker was banned, or before you knew it was banned, you were tinkering out Darksteel Colossus by turn 2, turn 1,
turn one,
varying
turn
on your
two.
hand, and you were
Yeah.
just smashing games, and people were like, "That's not fair Magic."
Yeah, Tinker is not a fair card at all. It's
No.
very degenerate when you're just like considering it had all the artifact lands, and it was like, I'll just sack one of my lands and turn it into Darksteel
And Lotus
Colossus.
Petals to sacrifice.
Lotus Petals. Oh god, that deck was so degenerate. I got that deck. Who did I buy? I bought it from Vaughn.
Yeah, was it Von or Stone?
It was Vaughn.
All right.
Stone was like the competitive player of our group. He was probably the best player at Job Corps, because he built all the like super competitive decks and would go out and play in tournaments and then come back and be like, "Yeah, I got destroyed." It's
Right.
like, oh, okay.
Remember when he got in trouble and snuck off campus to play in the tournament and lost?
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. He's like,
Remember that? Remember that one time where I got my gold card from Job Corps and then we went out to hang out and then I lost my gold card the same day I got it?
That was me. Sorry, bud. That's because we missed a flash. I still think it's unfair how they treat you, because I didn't lose my gold card.
Yeah.
And you lost yours.
Yep.
That
Yep,
was messed up. Like, I don't understand why they did that.
Probably because I just got mine and I already abused it. But like, I guess, like, I don't know, maybe they're looking at you because you've had your gold card for a while. And I was just like, for those who don't know, the gold card basically allows you to go off campus without having to sign, like, because normally to get off campus, you would have to fill out a sign your name up on an activity sheet, and then they take you off campus to a location, and you get X amount of hours. Where if you have your gold card, you could go off campus and stay off campus as long as you want, as long as you're back before curfew.
But you know, one of the best deals I ever made was that you had to talk me into.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Yes! Oh my god, that was so funny. Oh my god, I can't believe I had to talk you into that. So there's this kid at Job Corps. I can't remember his name, but he came in because he learned that you can heat up a flint to like a red hot, towards like it starts glowing red, and you throw it on the ground and it creates like this massive sparks, like just shoot everywhere. And he got so fascinated by it that he was running around trying to find more lighters to do this trick with, because he was showing all of his friends or whatever. And he comes in, Derek and I are I think we're either playing video games or Magic, one of the two. And he's like, "Who has a lighter in here?" And Derek's like, "I do." And he's like, "Can I have your lighter? Can I buy your lighter off of you?" And then Derek's like, "No, it's my only lighter." He's like, "Dude, I will give you $20 on payday for your lighter." And Derek's like, "No, it's my only lighter." I'm like, "Dude, what are you give him your lighter. I'll buy you a lighter, dude. Like, give him your damn lighter. That's $20 for a little." What are you talking about?
I remember the kid's name. It was Chris. Chris Meeks.
Okay. Chris Meeks. Yep, that was there. Yep.
That was
Oh
funny.
man, that was so funny. I was like, Derek, I will buy you a lighter. Dude, just give this kid a lighter for $20.
All
Oh,
right.
that was hilarious.
Looking at the time, I have to get off and start getting
Okay.
things ready. Thank you
Yep.
for jumping on. We should
Oh, yeah,
definitely
man.
hang out again.
Oh, for sure, guys.
But
Absolutely.
you know, now the world of YouTube got to know a little more about Andrew Stasis Orb. Boop boop. Maybe
Yeah,
I
peace
can
out, guys.
design a logo for that.
For sure. Actually, you know what? That would be awesome. I would actually appreciate that. For a while back, I was actually trying to look into actually creating my own YouTube channel, but things have just not kind of worked out. But the first thing I needed was a logo. So if you want to,
Yeah, I could definitely work on a logo. You know, my graphic design skills are pretty sweet.
oh yeah, you've been into that since we first hung out. So
Yeah.
I expect it. All right, man. Well, take care, man. You have a good one.
Take care. And everybody else, you have a good day. Thank you for watching. Be awesome, and don't forget, it's my time to
Zip the shit up. Zip Frank.